All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Paranormal Planet Live. Thanks for being with me this evening. Yep, looks like Tarzan made it in time. uh, Tonight, we got a really cool show. I've got some interesting things to show you, including what purports to be real footage of an alien abduction. Um, So I know that sounds like a bold claim, but I believe that this footage is authentic. And the context behind this footage is actually pretty interesting. So it originates from 2010. It comes out of the UK. In 2010, which was a year after I founded the Paranormal Intelligence Agency, I saw this footage. I was amazed by it then, and I was perplexed, I guess you would say, because about a year after I saw the footage, somebody out there in alphabet agency land went about furiously scrubbing this video off of the internet. It was clear because it was all over the place for a few months, and then all of a sudden you couldn't find it at all. I tried to find it just a few months ago, just by coincidence, and was unable to locate anything other than a super grainy film of somebody filming somebody else's TV screen that's playing it on their phone. And at that stage, it's not good enough to show that clip, so I never did. However, this clip I believe to be authentic because in 2010, I was there watching the documentary live that actually debuted this footage, and the producers really went to great effort to show the legitimacy of this film and how they believed it was authentic and couldn't be hoaxed. And the reason why is not only the medium that it was recorded on, which is like VHS tape, but the fact that they showed it to a number of special effects type experts who said that it could be done, but the kind of rig that you would need to do it and make it look believable on camera would be quite costly. And the producers were able to look into the finances of the couple that had this video. And to them, it seemed an impossibility that they could ever afford to pull off a hoax like this that they never intended to get any money off of. And afterwards went to great lengths, I believe, also to get the film off of the internet. And I think they did that because of how much ridicule that the couple ended up getting. But as you will see, and I don't want to play it up too much right now because we're going to come to it at the end of the show. It may answer a lot of questions for us going forward if we take it in investigator 101 and we use Boskovich's first principle thinking, which is the foundation for any would-be investigator out there for resolving an investigation and or mystery. And that's to establish one concrete, irrefutable fact upon which everything else can be compared. And I believe that this is one of those instances. And if we look at this and say, okay, it's authentic, what then can we theorize about what we just witnessed, about the functioning of how it works, and about whether or not philosophically this is absolute proof that the human species is being genetically predated on. So thanks for being with me, guys, out there. Like I said previously, sort of changing up the format of the show, and this will make it far easier for me to do in-depth videos, which will be like a main topic video that I just released, by the way. So there's one out there, the Reptilian Agenda, and you'll see how different that is than my live show. In that I can go back and mix ancient sources, new sources, show you guys how all the pieces connect together, and do it in a way where, you know, a script can show point by point by point, rather than me live on camera trying to ad lib and hit all those points for you. So, and in the meantime, we're getting just overrun with a ton of actual current paranormal affairs and events and all kinds of stuff going on. So we're going to start actually. Mr. Bigfoot asks, is it snowing in Oklahoma? No way. No way. It's going to be 87 degrees tomorrow. So, yeah, we're far enough south that Oklahoma doesn't get much of a winter. We get an ice storm here and there, and maybe a day of snow where it's like barely covering the grass, and then it melts off the next day, which is why I came back home to Oklahoma. I was tired of that snow. Lived 25 years in the mountains in Colorado, bigfooting. Then I had a 5-year stint in the minus 70 wind chills of South Dakota, and now I'm back to my home state where it's nice and warm, and I can do a ton of crypto work year round. So, got a lot of stuff to show you guys, so let's get to it. First off the bat, this week is, let me get this out of here. We got some new video that has come in, and this video shows some new footage from the Navy of UFOs. So let's see what we got here. Or actually, that's going to come later. First off is a very interesting one. You guys are going to like this. So this is, if you read the headline, UFO cover-ups could end by Christmas, with U.S. government blowing whistle on alien activity, report claims. This is a very interesting one here, guys. And I'll scroll this up for you. The truth surrounding the mystery of UFOs and what the U.S. government really knows about them could finally be revealed, a new report has claimed. Whistleblowers connected to alien activity could speak before Congress. They were told that last week. And in fact, congressional hearings on unidentified aerospace undersea phenomenon should be expected once the National Defense Authorization Act is signed into law, and that is coming very shortly. So it's interesting because in this bill, this provides protection for whistleblowers who are related to the whole UAP, SAP, or special access programs that are out there that, are controlled by government contractors that are actually holding all of the craft and the back engineered material, etc., can come forward. And in fact, It says the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence did not immediately respond to the Sun's request for comment on the matter. However, regarding the mystery of UFOs, the silver bullet is coming, journalist Jeremy Corbell told the outlet. And if you'll recall, Jeremy Corbell is big into, he's one of the central figures in the disclosure thing here. He's been making movies with the insider guys here for a while. So, and he states, the moment it is understood by the public that not only have we obtained spacecraft fabricated by a non-human intelligence, but that we have also been attempting to reverse engineer that technology for decades. Pandora's box is finally open, he added. Corbell claimed that the NDAA will provide amnesty and immunity for those who wish to come forward. So there you have it, guys. That is absolutely huge. Because if these people who really, they're scared of, violating their security oaths, etc., and going to Leavenworth the rest of their lives, the minute that they know that that won't happen, there's going to be a lot of them show up in front of a Senate Intelligence Committee and before the Congress, and they're going to spill the beans. And when Jeremy Corbell makes a statement like that, that means he knows for a fact. He doesn't make a statement like that unless he knows. So it is fascinating. That's a fascinating development and something that everybody really needs to keep paying attention to. Just a second here for me. Oh, sorry, guys. That was my fault. I did get a new. Uh, here you go. So that's for you guys. You should have seen the old microphone I was using. So this one actually, uh, can pick up stuff. So there you go. Yeah, blue shift says I was in mute mode. I appreciate that. So anyway, I was showing the elongation of the toes. There's what I was talking about. So let me bring it back up real fast. This thing it's a very interesting footprint to look at because of how different it is from footprints that you find in the Rockies in northern New Mexico, things like that, where I've discovered prints before. I was saying earlier that when you look at one of these photographs and you're a fan of Thinker Thunker and his Bigfoot analysis and how he's been able to determine how arm length compared to a human is way outside the range by a very large percentage, and how he's zeroed in on a science of being able to detect a hoax when there is one and when there isn't one. If you haven't seen his work on that, I would encourage you to do so. It is fascinating for a cryptozoologist. And you have to remember cryptozoology is the science of studying life forms that fall outside the realm of normal biological processes. And the footprint that he has here, you can see the elongation of the toes. I find that fascinating because you have variations of the species in different geographic areas of the country. And here you can see where this particular branch of the species has webbing. The toes have elongated to allow for the webbing. Compared to a normal Sasquatch print, they're quite a bit longer compared, as an overall print. So that's fascinating to me. So I wanted to cover that. Next up is this Navy footage, you guys. This is fascinating. They keep releasing this stuff, and it's like a lot of the people don't pay attention to it when it comes out. And let's see here. And you'll get to see it come in here. I decided instead of, recording this off of the actual sources, I would just show it to you from the main source. And the article is interesting because it shows the locations, and expert pilots describe seeing bright lights moving in racetrack circles over the summer, but say their employers told them to keep quiet. So this stuff keeps hitting over and over and over again. It is a nonstop trickle of information coming out about the UFO phenomenon, the alien presence on the planet. And here again is a perfect example of that. And that article is out there to see as well. Is that footage in case you haven't seen it out there. Okay. And I've got a really interesting one coming up here for you guys. Beware Montana's Shunka Warrican, the Rocky Mountain hyena. So this is a new article, just came out October 19th, and which was yesterday, of course. And it talks all about the mysterious creature, the Shunka Warrican, which means carries dogs away. And how they were able to actually kill one of these creatures. And that creature ended up in a grocery store / museum, which I know that's funny, but you're talking about, 1886. And I was able to track down a picture of this creature, and I am going to show it to you. There you go. Now, this is put up next to a real hyena so that you can see the likeness, because they call it the American hyena. I just find it fascinating that this obviously was a species, obviously was in Montana, and I guess probably in areas north. And like I was discussing on the cryptozoology episode, this, and if you want to be technical about it, a Lazarus species, just sort of rebirths itself through a linear genetic line. However, you might also put a slash there and say survival, Lazarus / survival species. It's probably almost impossible to tell which occurred at one point, and if they're still out there. And if they are, that's a huge cryptozoological trophy for somebody waiting to be had. Imagine rediscovering that species. You notice how short the back legs are, just like a hyena, and compared to the length of the front legs. The elongation of the snout. And look at those teeth. Now, if you covered up the rest of the animal and just had the snout, you would have something that looks very much like the snout of a South Texas chupacabra. Also, I believe that the Xincahuarcan, when you look at this picture, looks just like depictions of the beast of Gévaudan in France. And I think it's improbable, but possible, that one of these animals wound up over there and was somehow domesticated by the killer and or killers who used it to kill in their stead. So that is fascinating, guys. And is it still out there? I think so, because people still see unidentified canines out there. So that is pretty cool. Let's see here. Next up. And get to this final footage so I can show you guys this super cool footage of what is probably an alien abduction. New territory, Politico. This just came out, guys. America's top aerospace sleuths join the UFO hunt. The country's largest organization of technical experts has concluded that recent incursions pose a safety hazard to aircraft. That's a huge statement. It means that their efforts are now here to stay. They cannot identify something as a hazard and then turn their back on that hazard, which is why it's so important. And here they are talking about the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. It includes in its members the country's largest defense and NASA contractors. They have established 3 committees to study the technology, how incursions affect pilot and passenger safety, and to coordinate with government agencies and international researchers also focused on the topic. That is a perfect lead-in into our footage of an alien abduction. And with that, I wanted to talk to you guys for a second about this footage that I'm going to show you before we look at it. So I have discussed previously the Pentagon's OSAP program's findings about the hitchhiker effect, about the fact that this sort of, well, for lack of a better term, paranormal virus seems to attach itself to people who are part of their UFO program and or people that they were studying that had close contact with UFOs would take home with them a wide array of paranormal activity. It's inexplicable. We're talking about poltergeist-like activity, objects manifesting out of thin air and then, blinking back out of existence, cryptid animal activity, something I have continually re-mentioned, the fact that one of the highest ranking intelligence officer, his family had a close encounter with a dogman twice on their property. They consider it to be part of the overall hitchhiker effect. Therefore, if you're a dogman researcher, investigator, that's something that we now have to take into account as Boskovich's first principle thinking. Those eyewitnesses are irreproachable. They definitely consider it part of the hitchhiker effect. We now have to prove it isn't, if we want to prove that it is somehow separate from the hitchhiker effect. Now, the hitchhiker effect is fascinating in and of itself because one of the things they listed as being part of the hitchhiker effect was an unaccounted for pregnancy in their report, obviously alluding to alien abduction. And they also talk about how they were studying ways of mitigating the hitchhiker effect, which would then include alien abduction. And here's where things get really fascinating. So I theorized, we need to theorize the hitchhiker effect. How far did this go back? Some of the principal scientists that were part of the OSAP program were also present at Skinwalker Ranch, right? So we don't know if it originated at Skinwalker Ranch, attached itself to these guys, who then attached itself to the other people in a program that comes along later on, and then spread out from there. There's no way for us yet to tell that, right? Except a big clue, in my opinion, just emerged out there. And that opinion is that, big clue just emerged out there. And the clue comes in the form of a interview, again, with Dr. Gary Nolan. He is a principal scientist in all of the disclosure here. And he was on a program with a journalist, a well-known journalist, Ross Coulthart, I believe his first name is Ross, an Australian journalist. And in this interview, he admits to having a couple of close UFO encounters as a child. One of them was an actual alien encounter. Another one was a craft hovering over him as a paper boy as he was going through a darkened, wooded area. And so I ask you, what are the odds that the principal scientific investigator, who is now a part of all of this and the hitchhiker effect, et cetera, had a close encounter, which might have then provided a hitchhiker effect on him his entire life? What are we talking about here? Because the only way for that to occur is if you're talking about a phenomenon which was able to identify a child who it would later know would have the scientific skill in order to then observe and study it. Think about that. That's really disturbing, because the only other option was that it was attempting to alter the life path of the child so that it became that. And the only way for that to occur is for an intelligence to exist outside of time. How else could you see that this child would eventually become a scientist who would have the skill set needed in order to then bring attention and, more importantly, measurement to a phenomenon that set it all in motion? The only way is for it to exist outside of time. And if you'll recall, the pilots on the Nimitz, they were supposed to go to a pre-designated rendezvous point, and the craft was able to read their minds and show up at that point before any of them did. And not only that, but it caused brain damage, profound brain damage in many of the pilots and many of the other people. So it's a huge clue, and it's something that we're going to really have to begin to think about, right? Because that's, what are the odds? What's the probability that he would have two major encounters and then end up being the principal scientific mind behind all of this, being turned to, if you will, by the government insiders who are seeking the disclosure? It's just that kind of synchronicity is something that is too uncanny to just ignore if you're an investigator in your blood and soul like I am. So that's been just burning in my brain for days now, just thinking, what are we looking at here? This is getting to be truly insane. So pardon me while I drink a little water, and let's see it. So what I'm going to show you, this was recorded on a VHS tape on a crappy camera. The people that investigated it said there's no way these people could have afforded some rig that would have swallowed up the woman that you're about to see. And think about things existing outside of time, will you? And also think about this. One of the aspects recorded by the OSAP program of the hitchhiker effect was the alien abduction phenomenon. So let's take a look. Okay, so here is the article. Birmingham Live is a big news source out of the UK. And this is where they talk about how Nick Pope was interviewed about the video, and he weighs in on that. So let's see here. I may have to refresh this page. And here you go. We'll take it a second to load, and then I'll blow it up for you guys. It's probably going to be an ad, I can tell you that, but it's worth it. They set up the camera because she had had incidents the previous nights, and her husband wanted to assure her everything was okay, so he put a camera. And she's gone. Literally vanishes out of thin air. Look at the sheets under at the end of the bed. That's her husband, and he's in bed this entire time next to her. They're obviously speeding up the time. It's at 3:43 a.m. So she's gone for quite a few minutes here. Yeah, right. And there she is. So that is crazy. All right, guys. So that is the actual footage. Like I said, it's kind of made a big splash right now. I'm glad. I talked earlier about how on a previous episode about how it looks like mainstream media has begun to drop the abduction bomb, even to the point of like Fox News having an entire special about alien abduction with one of their main talking heads, reporter named Abby Hornacek. Fascinating. And now you have this footage re-emerging, and it has gone viral now. So now it's out there, and it's going to be something that people see. It's going to be something that hopefully sparks more and more questions. And it's crazy. It really is crazy. So anyway, that's what I have for you guys tonight. Didn't mean to keep you quite that long, but you kind of get a feel for the new format. We're going to be covering stuff and talking about the latest and the greatest paranormal stuff. And my in-depth investigative videos will come out like the last one did, where I'm making sure to hit each and every detailed point for you guys on each one of these mysteries. I've got a new one coming out pretty soon that's going to be on acoustics, ancient acoustic mysteries, weapons, and we're going to talk about frequencies and things like that. I think you'll like it. So till then, be safe out there, guys, and I will see you next time.